Hi everyone and welcome back to my Bible study journey. If you are new here, my name is Amber Scott and this is my weekly Bible study. So I am on this journey of reading the entire Bible cover to cover and doing this Bible study from this book. That helps guide me and lead me in the right direction to answer certain questions and to think about parts of the Bible in different ways. My mother is also doing this with me, so eventually I would like to get her in the videos, but that might take some convincing. So if you've been on this journey with me, this week we were reading the book of Ruth. Reading the book of Ruth. That's a tongue twister. Spoiler alert, this is actually Saturday night that I am filming this because Sunday, the 28th, when this video comes out, I will be in Busch Gardens in Williamsburg on a little bit of a vacation trip with my group called Priceless. So if you know us, then go give us a like on Facebook. We'd really appreciate it. And appreciate the support. So we're going to Busch Gardens and we're gonna have a really awesome time, but that requires me to film this on Saturday. So my brain is a little bit everywhere and not really focused.
We're reading the book of Ruth.
So this may be a very confusing video, but I'm gonna do my best. Also, on a side note, I told you guys at the beginning of this series that I would kind of be reviewing this Bible study as well. Like I had never really gone through it or know what it is. So I would also be giving you guys my opinion on this book. And I have to say I have loved it thus far. But when I went through and read about what it said about the book of Ruth, I was really disappointed, to be honest, because I had loved the way this book was set up and the questions it had asked and the ways that it had made me think about things I had never really thought about before. But the book of Ruth just kind of disappointed me. There wasn't really a lot of good questions. Me and my mom sit down and do these together, and we usually have really good discussions about things and can talk to each other about them. And then we also have even quizzed our pastor a little bit about things that we weren't sure of at church as well. Not only was the part about the book of Ruth super short, because Ruth is a short book, I get that, but it didn't really have a lot of good questions. So with that being said, I'm gonna kind of just recap the book of Ruth for you guys and kind of give you my opinions about it. So more of a mini sermon rather than a Bible study. So there were really like two main characters in the book of Ruth, Naomi and Ruth, of course. Naomi's husband and two sons had died. Naomi's husband had died, and her two sons had died as well. And Ruth was her daughter-in-law who happened to be married to one of her sons. So she had the two daughter-in-laws left, and Ruth was the one that decided to stay with her. Ruth made the decision to say that I'm going to stay with Naomi because she is my family. I'm married to this family and I want to stay with them and be committed to them. One of the most famous things that Ruth says to Naomi is, "Your people shall be my people and your God shall be my God." That is a representation of how serious she was about staying with Naomi and staying with her in her time of depression and sadness that she was feeling of losing her sons and her husband. So basically, Ruth and Naomi end up going back to Naomi's homeland, and Ruth stays with her, and eventually she has to go out and get grain and food and harvest some crops because you gotta live off somehow. And now they're both widows, so it's kind of like the only way that you can be redeemed or be remarried basically is with your husband's brother or closest kinsman or closest family member. And it's really difficult sometimes to get those people to agree to inherit their land and the property and their wives and everything else. It can be quite confusing, and if you read the book of Ruth, you can kind of see where there's a little bit of like the law and kind of legal things they have to go through in order for Ruth to find someone else to remarry. So Ruth chooses to go to this seemingly random farm and gets some harvest for her and Naomi. And lo and behold, she meets this guy named Boaz. Now Boaz was very noble and full of strength, and people looked up to him. So he was this amazing character in this story that Ruth met by coincidence, may I add. Boaz also ends up being very generous, for he sees Ruth and he says, I'm going to take favor in you, because he has heard of her story and what she chose to do for Naomi. So Boaz shows great favor to Ruth, and Ruth ends up taking more crops than she should, and Boaz is super nice to her and gives her all these things and tells her that she can come back and harvest crops and do gleaning at any time that she would like, which is super rare and super not how the system's supposed to work. But Boaz was being overly nice to her because he knew her story. So when Naomi heard about this, Naomi was like, hey Ruth, I need you to go subdue Boaz. So basically, Naomi is like, sees an opportunity to continue the family line. So she ends up getting Ruth to go over and, I don't want to say subdue, I guess it's more of like, be flirtatious or make a move on Boaz, whatever you want to call it, which in the story it talks about, it says that Ruth covered Boaz's feet while he was sleeping, which is supposed to be a way of kind of like saying, hey, I like you, and a way of like letting him know that Ruth is interested in him. Which is so funny because it's just a whole different custom. It's not something that we're used to in today's society. And it's just funny because it's just covering your feet. And personally, I usually sleep with like 1 foot out of the covers. So like if someone came and covered my feet, I would probably be mad. Boaz kind of takes her up on the offer, but he knows that there is a law of remarriage where the oldest brother has first kinsman over Ruth. So Boaz has an older brother that he has to go ask and make sure that he doesn't want to marry and take in Ruth's family. And when he hears that he has to marry someone, he's like, no. So basically Boaz ends up marrying Ruth, and then they end up having a son. Now this is the amazing part. The genealogy after Ruth and Boaz have a child leads straight to King David, which then will lead straight to Jesus. So again, if you have been following me in this Bible study, we talked about in Genesis how all these people that it started out with led down this like family tree to the birth of Jesus. And how like the entire Old Testament is just this family tree of the stories, and how God has laid his hand upon these people and changed their lives in drastic ways, some for the good and some for the worse, just in order to get to Jesus. Now, I kind of want to point out that there's a bigger picture to all this too. There's a bigger meaning, at least to me. If God can shape all these people's lives and do this big ordeal just for a greater purpose, he can definitely shape our lives individually to have greater purposes. Maybe you were going through a time where your husband died and your sons are dead and you feel worthless and you feel depressed. I surely hope that is not exactly your case. But no matter what it may be, there may be a time in your life, and maybe it's right now, that you feel very depressed and sad and just like God is doing nothing good and there is no good purpose that can come out of this. I assure you, I can testify from my own short 20 years of life that there is a greater purpose. If you've been watching these videos, you've heard me say a little bit about I haven't been in the greatest mindset recently. I've been going through a lot of things that are really stressful for me, and I've discovered a lot of things about myself this year that I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't like that and I need to work on that. And I am working on that, and I am not fully better. There are two things that I tell myself when I am going through a slump. One, it's just something you gotta do. Sometimes we do things that we are scared to do, we don't like to do, we don't want to do, and you just gotta tell yourself it's just something you gotta do. Like taking a test. for example. That was my thing this past week. I took my VCLA for my teacher licensure. I'm studying elementary education, and taking your VCLA is a really big, long, 4-hour test, and it's stressful, and I had a lot of anxiety about it. I don't know my scores yet. I won't know for about another week, but it's just one of those things that I kept telling myself, you just gotta do it. It's something you just gotta do. And if you stop thinking about all the things that can go wrong or how big of a deal it actually is, and you're just like, it's just something you gotta do. You gotta do it, move on, keep pushing through. The second thing I tell myself is everything happens for a reason. Yes, that is a cliche, and I really hate the way that is worded and the way society views that statement nowadays, but I am dead serious when I say everything happens in your life for a reason. And maybe it's not a reason that you will ever see. Maybe you, personally, on this earth, will never see that greater purpose. But I assure you, God is using you in a way that is far beyond our understanding. And I can preach that to you all day long, and I can preach it to myself all day long, but living it out and believing it is a whole nother story. That's what the book of Ruth is all about. We see that Ruth made a choice to stay with Naomi. And the greater good that came out of that, yes, Ruth was blessed. Yes, she ended up remarrying and having a child, and that was a great blessing for her, and she did see that. But that wasn't even the end. That wasn't even the greater purpose. The greater purpose was Jesus being born from that same genealogy. I see that everything that happens to us, whether good, bad, or ugly, happens for a reason, and it can be turned into good through the hands of God. So no matter what goes on in your life, no matter what you're going through, have the faith that Ruth had. Have the faith to just stick to your guns and say, this is something that I have to do, and I know that if I do it, the good is going to come out of it. And you also have to have that mindset of, I may never see that good, I may never see those fruits, I may never see those blessings, but know that God has a greater plan than we could ever imagine. So that's all I have for you guys today. Also, side note, I will be posting a vlog very soon on my YouTube channel. So if you don't follow my YouTube channel, click the link in the description and go give my YouTube channel a follow, a like, a subscribe, whatever you want to call it. You will be able to see a vlog of the trip that we are taking, going to Busch Gardens. So we're going to the amusement park and the water park, and we are also performing, not at Busch Gardens, but at another church this Sunday before we leave. So if you want to see that vlog, that will be posted. The performance of Prices at the church will be posted to the Prices Facebook page. So I'll leave a link in the description for all of those places. So go give them a like, a follow, a subscribe, whatever you want to call it. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And remember, the Bible is good for you. Bye guys!